Alright guys, July is basically the same as June, so just go back to last month's video and I'll catch you guys next month. Just kidding, we've got a solar eclipse and a lunar eclipse this month, so same but different. Alright guys, for those of you that are new here, the information in these videos is primarily for Northern Hemisphere based observers. There will be the odd bit of information relative to the Southern Hemisphere, and that is especially the case in this month's video. However, things like full moon dates, new moon dates, and sort of moon and planet conjunctions, they are pretty much the same dates worldwide. As Earth rotates, we all share the same portion of the night sky. So as I mentioned, July is pretty much a repeat of June. So those of you that are of latitudes 50 degrees north and further north, we're stuck in this perpetual twilight. And I'm just going to have a little recap from last month's video to explain this. The three stages of twilight are defined by how far below the horizon the sun is. So when the sun hits the horizon, we have the time of sunset or sunrise. When the sun is between 0 and 6 degrees below the horizon, we have civil twilight. When the sun is between 6 and 12 degrees below the horizon, we have nautical twilight. And when the sun is between 12 and minus 18 degrees below the horizon, we have astronomical twilight. Once the sun has gone below 18 degrees, the sky above you is completely enveloped within Earth's shadow, and that is official nighttime. That is as dark as the skies can get. Now, the perpetual twilight does bring about an opportunity to photograph something called Noctilucent clouds. We're also going into the peak of Milky Way season, and as I mentioned, we have a solar eclipse and a lunar eclipse coming up. So before I go into detail, just want a quick thanks to the sponsors of today's video, Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community for creators with more than 29,000 classes in design, business, and all things photography and videography. If you're looking to brush up on your landscape astrophotography, then you should check out this course by Ian Norman, the guy behind lonelyspec.com. He covers all the basics you need to know to capture and edit amazing nightscape images that include things like the Milky Way. There's also another course run by adventure photographer and Instagram legend Chris Burkhardt. He teaches you outdoor photography from sunset to sunrise, and even capturing wonderful images in the nighttime that exists between. Skillshare is super affordable. An annual subscription costs just £7 a month, and that gives you access to all of the courses, and you can try as many as you like. But if you use the link in the video description below, you can get 2 months free of Skillshare Premium. So you can try out as many classes as you like in those 2 months. And if at the end of those 2 months you think Skillshare is not for you, you can just opt out, as easy as that. So follow that link in the description below and you can get 2 months free of Skillshare Premium. Now, the perpetual twilight brings about an interesting opportunity to photograph something called Noctilucent clouds. Noctilucent clouds are the highest known clouds to exist. They exist up in the mesosphere at a height of about 85 kilometers. They're normally too thin to see with the naked eye, but during June and July, when the sun doesn't get very low below the horizon, it illuminates the underneath of these clouds and they glow against the backdrop of twilight. And if you just face north and you have clear skies, there's a chance that you might see these glowing clouds. Now, the good thing about Noctilucent clouds is that they don't really get affected by moonlight or light pollution, so no matter where you are, if you're sort of between 50 degrees and 70 degrees north in terms of latitude, just try your luck if you have clear skies. This year there have been sightings as far as 34 degrees north, which is way further south than I've ever heard them being seen. So very interesting, and if you're lower than 50 degrees north, maybe it's worth trying your luck, because this year there's been some seriously southern sightings this year. Typically I'd advise a bit of a longer focal length, something like a 50mm, maybe even up to 135mm if they're really low on the horizon. But on some nights they do get quite high and they would warrant a sort of wide angle view with a nice big sky. But just kind of see how strong they are that night and just try and fill the frame with them. So don't be afraid to use a longer focal length like 50, 85 or 135 as well. Now, one of the differences between July and June is that this month the nights are getting longer, which is great because we are in the peak of Milky Way season now. So loading up Stellarium on my phone. If I zoom out just a little bit so we can see east, south and west. As I scrub through time, the sun sets, and as it gets dark, the Milky Way is already sort of south-southeast. and it crosses the southern skies. It reaches its highest point when it crosses the southern meridian, and as the night goes on, it makes its way down into the southwest until the sun starts rising in the east. So the Milky Way is out pretty much all night now, guys. This is the peak of Milky Way season, no matter where you are in the world. And another thing to note is how high the Cygnus region is getting in the sky now. And even as time goes on, it nearly gets directly overhead. It pretty much gets directly overhead for those of us in the UK. So the Cygnus region, very difficult now to capture with some sort of foreground interest. But if you want to do some tracking, it's in a really good position now, and there's lots of goodness to be had in the Cygnus region, particularly the North American nebula. And yeah, just a really interesting, beautiful region of the Milky Way. So if you have a star tracker, have a little go at the Cygnus region this month. Now, new moon falls on the 2nd of this month, so if you want to go and photograph the Milky Way, it'll be the first week or so of the month, and also the last few days. But there's something special about the new moon this month, and that is that it will eclipse the sun. So there's a total solar eclipse this year, and the path of totality largely runs through the empty South Pacific Ocean. But the path of totality does cross through mainland Chile and Argentina as well. I'll stick a map up to show where you can see the eclipse from, and as you can see, most of South America will at least get a partial eclipse. But in order to see the total solar eclipse, you need to be on the path of totality, so in Chile or Argentina. I myself will be in Chile with Adrian Morduit. We will, weather permitting, be shooting the total solar eclipse, so make sure to follow us on Instagram. Now, as well as there being a total solar eclipse, there is also a partial lunar eclipse this month on the 16th going into the 17th of July. I'll stick a map up again showing where you can see the eclipse from, but you can see it from mainland Europe, Africa, parts of South America, see a little bit of it as well. A partial lunar eclipse is when the moon passes through Earth's shadow but doesn't get completely covered by the darker umbra of Earth's shadow. So it gets completely covered by the penumbra of Earth's shadow and passes through a portion of the umbra. So you get a bit of a shadow on the moon. So for those of you in the UK, the moon will rise at about 9 o'clock in the evening, and it will already be partially obscured by the shadow of Earth. And then the maximum obscurity occurs at 10:30 p.m. when the moon will be 65% covered by Earth's umbral shadow. And then about midnight, I think the eclipse will completely be over for those of you in the UK, but the timings will change depending on where you are, so it's worth checking that out. And again, I'll drop some links in the video description below so you can look into that further. As for the planets, Jupiter is now out of opposition, but it's still shining pretty bright. It's at a magnitude of -2.5, and it's in front of the constellation of Fucus, so you can see it in the southern skies pretty much all night. This month, it's Saturn's turn to go into opposition, so on July the 7th, Saturn will be directly opposite the Sun, and even still, it will be shining 10 times fainter than Jupiter at a magnitude of just +0.1. At the beginning of the month, you will see Mars and Mercury on the northwestern horizon just after sunset, but by the end of the month, they would have dropped into the brightness of twilight. But on July the 4th, they will be joined with a very thin crescent moon. So if you're out celebrating Independence Day in the USA, keep an eye out to the northwest and see if you can see our moon along with Mars and Mercury. Another notable conjunction this month is on the 13th, when a big gibbous moon will be right next to Jupiter. So moon bazookas at the ready, and hopefully you can capture our moon along with Jupiter and some of the Jovian moons as well. Speaking of the USA, there are a few rocket launches this month. Not something I've photographed myself, so I'm no expert, but I'll stick a link in the video description below. If you are in the United States, have a little look. Photographing a rocket launch is one of my bucket list items, so one year maybe I'll join one of you guys and shoot a rocket launch. Alright guys, as for the hashtag Waitons, last month I asked you guys to tag your pictures of the Milky Way core, and asked you guys to be creative, maybe do things a little bit differently. didn't see that many images in there that really struck me with like creativity or sort of, you know, being unique and different. But some images I did think were a little bit different was, there were a few images taken by Capital Flyer, who's obviously an airline pilot, but he captures the Milky Way either from the cockpit or from one of the windows of the airplane. And in this image you've got Jupiter shining quite brightly, but there was another couple of images, this one where you can see a little bit of lightning, a bit of a storm going on in the distance, and another one where you can really see the storm and amazing detail in that towering cloud. You still got the Milky Way there as well. I thought these were really cool, probably the most different of all the entries. I really like this image simply because you guys know I've got a camper van and I love, you know, sleeping out, especially when there are clear skies and stars in the sky. So I'm a little bit of a sucker for this kind of image, and he's nestled into a really cool looking spot there under the Milky Way. So perfect lonely traveler, really like that one. Another little simple one that I really liked from Tim Wells Photography, 2 deck chairs on the beach with the Milky Way core rising. And yeah, I know it's summer now, you've just got that urge to go to the beach, take someone special down to the beach and just, you know, I want to sit in those deck chairs and enjoy a good Milky Way core rise. So quite like that one, nice and simple. But I think my favorite this month was 90s photography. This image, super clean, so much detail, lovely natural colors. There's a really sort of muted blue and brown color harmony going on there. Awesome detail in the Milky Way, wicked framing, with this interesting rock art as well. So super cool, love that one. There are a few others that I really like as well. I'll probably do like an honorable mentions over on my Instagram page. If you're not following me already, go over and follow and check out the hashtag Wittens as well. We're over 5,000 posts now, which is super awesome. This month will be the second month and last month of Noctilucent cloud season. You know, you can still see them into August and you can still see them in sort of May time, but June and July, the main 2 months for Noctilucent clouds. So by now you should have had a good chance to get out there, hopefully capture some, and if you haven't, you got another month to do it. So this month, Noctilucent clouds. And that is it, guys. Make sure to follow along for mine and Adrian's trip in Chile. I'll be going to Easter Island, photographing solar eclipse, and then heading up to the Atacama Desert. So if you want to follow along live, follow us on Instagram, and I will, of course, hopefully have a few vlogs to share on the YouTube channel soon as well. Whilst I'm away, unless I edit those vlogs really quickly, I might not be posting, so just be aware there might not be some videos for a while, but hopefully I'll be able to edit on the fly in Chile and just upload straight to YouTube, but let's see what happens. Anyway guys, thank you for tuning in to another video. If you're going out to enjoy the night sky anytime soon, I wish you good luck and clear skies.